We're up. 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 Right? I do think we are ready to roll. We had a couple of technical difficulties, but we're up and ready to roll. So I am excited again. You guys know every week I am totally excited to be on New Wine Talk. It is just exhilarating. I mean, I can spend the whole day on Tuesday just thinking about what we're going to talk about on Tuesday night. And tonight we have an awesome topic. I don't know. I don't even know how we came about, wanting to even talk about this. I think someone came up to me and gave a suggestion that we should talk about PTSD and who has PTSD, how does PTSD come about, the whole 9 yards. So they are really having technical difficulties because I told you guys to turn that phone off the way down. My God, from glory. They are trying to do their own watch parties and stuff like that. So be patient with them. We are going to go around, and I am so excited to have Werner here. I never try to tackle various topics without, I call them the educators. And Werner is here. Werner Humphrey is here, and she is an awesome clinician. She does therapy, the whole 9 yards, and she is going to talk to us about PTSD, the signs and the symptoms and what to look for. So you guys know how we do it, starting with Lolo. Are you on?
Green light on. So just glad to be here tonight. We are having a little bit of technical challenges, but we just wanted to share it. We want to make sure that this gets out to everyone. So please
Yes.
hit your share button. It's a good topic. This has just been a good flow. I missed everybody last week. I'm glad to be here this week and can't wait to just talk, just have some candid conversation, as Maisha would say.
Yes.
Maisha.
You know she's watching, right?
So glad to be here. Very positive. Glad to be here.
Dr. Yo.
Hello, everybody.
Dr. Yo, you got to say something about They all know her anyway. She's this awesome radio personality. So tell them about your kingdom, fit for the kingdom and all that stuff and how they can follow you and so on and so forth on your radio broadcast.
All right, I'm Dr. Yo. What Lady Gail was talking about over there is fit for the kingdom, where I'm walking and exercising and trying to inspire people to walk in their purpose that God has ordained for their life. Just visit the website www.breakthroughreleaseministries.org. We're doing a lot of great things and we thank God for it. So if you want to follow me on all of the media sources, Instagram, Periscope, you name it, we're out there.
BreakFreeReleaseMinistries.org. Follow Dr. Yo. You won't be disappointed. And Verna Humphrey.
Hello, Facebook land. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I work with individuals that have mental health and emotional needs, varies from what we're going to talk about tonight, post-traumatic stress disorder, sexual abuse issues, mental health issues, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, major depression, all gamuts of social issues I've touched on. So I'm glad to be here tonight and hope we can give somebody some insight and help them to maybe overcome something that may seem like a great milestone in their life.
Melissa.
Hi, my name is Melissa
Close.
Sanchez. Melissa Sanchez.
She's nervous.
I am nervous. I don't like to be on camera, so she knows it well. But she invited me, so I'm here.
Melissa, tell them a little bit about
A
yourself.
little bit about myself.
Campaigning and all of that?
I campaign. I work for political campaigns. I also work in charter schools. I do their coordinating. I'm their parent coordinator. And yeah, that's it.
And how many children?
Oh, I have 4 kids, married for 22 years.
Yes. And we were just talking, me and Melissa, that we met 2 years ago in August doing the traumatic Hurricane
Harvey.
Harvey.
Yes.
Oh my God! But it seems like it has been years and years and years because we just developed an awesome relationship.
Yep.
I don't even know. You just told me that we sent some people up to bring water to
Yeah.
hurricane victims, and then we met, and you brought people out so that they can get food. We had food and clothing and all that kind of stuff at the church, and then we did something in some
In our
those up,
school,
yeah, in
yeah.
your school.
Yeah. You actually donated to our school because 275 family members from our school either lost everything or lost some stuff. And I remember I called you and I told you, hey, by any chance, oh no, you called me and asked me, do you know anybody that needed help? And I was like, our families need help. She's like, come for this stuff.
Comfort.
So from there,
We had
we
a
just
blast,
bond.
And then we went to the apartments. Remember, Lori?
then we
we
went
went
to
to
the
the apartments with Doug Stringer and Mike Salazar.
I think there was like over 300 people there.
It was that
275
that was
people, over a
something,
lot.
and we were able to bring diesels in. Remember, Somebody Cares America. They
Yeah,
brought
they brought a
that
whole
was
bunch of
just
stuff.
that was so cool. But it's been 2 years ago this year, so I guess the 25th or 26th that storm
Whatever,
hit
yeah.
us. But it just seemed like such a long time, and I value your friendship so much. You are an amazing woman. You're campaigning. You're getting out there. She's been very vital in bringing people to us that are running,
Yeah.
that bringing them to the church. Adrian Garcia,
Yeah.
he came here for prayer. She
Yes.
brought him here for prayer. And
Yes.
Tony Wallace, remember Lori? Lori prayed for them,
Yeah.
and we prayed for them at a face down. And so it is. You just don't know. Great God will bring great people into your life, and I just thank God for bringing this great woman, Melissa, into my life. And keep campaigning, keep doing something, because I'm telling you, when righteousness rule, the city rejoice.
Come on.
So we need some righteousness in government, and
Right,
so
yeah.
just keep doing that. Well, anyway, we are going to talk about PTSD, and I had some questions I was even reading today. I like to read and do all this stuff so Verna won't throw me. I love to read anyway. My daughter reached out to me last week and was asking me about all these books. I'm like, girl, I read that 30 years ago. That's old news. That kind of stuff. Because, Toni Morrison passed. And I was telling her how I read The Bluest Eye, and then some of her books were kind of weird. I didn't understand some of the areas and stuff like that. But it's just really good to read and to know. I wish I would have read some of this years ago, because I probably was so PTSD and and needed some PILLS or something. But Verna, this is the question I have for you. What is the difference between PTSD and just depression in itself, or just high stress?
Yeah. One of the things I was trying to prepare, I can never just prepare. But anyway, we all experience trauma.
That's right.
We all have upsets and situations that we view as traumatic. But when we talk about PTSD, it's more of a long-lasting a stress and acuity to an extent that what I like to say is that we are always being reminded of that situation or feeling like we're in that situation again. For instance, like we were just talking about the hurricane. Many people who were actually, in the midst of this sudden onset, this disaster, and maybe their house flooded, and so now each and every time it rains, they have this panic that their home is about to flood. That's the difference. That the traumatic event, it was sudden, it was horrendous, and it has long-lasting effects that you feel that you're in that situation over and over and over again. Like prisoners of war, or people who have experienced war, they may hear sudden sounds and they all of a sudden think they're in the war, and so they're doing things, falling on the floor, rolling, or something like that. So that is the difference in when we talk about post-traumatic stress disorder. It is you're reliving this situation based on different triggers.
Wow.
Does that help?
And so I had Melissa and Dr. Yo here, because Dr. Yo has been here before. I think this is your third time, and has given awesome testimonial. And when you were talking in general, I was talking to you. I don't even know when it was. I don't even know if it was on the show. And you talked about the anger and the the different things that you experience. And I'm like, you know what? That probably was a form of PTSD, and just had not, especially in the church. We rarely want to have a diagnosis. I mean, you can have half a leg and you're like, God, you're going to fix it and blah, 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 and grow, instead of getting the help that we need.
Yeah.
And so I think we have to bring that type of stuff to the forefront,
Yes.
especially in the body, especially in the church, because there's so many people we just deem them as weird, or they're going through or whatever, and they may need some help. Because I know it was some times where I could just stay in the bed and couldn't sleep, insomnia, and I was reading some of the signs and symptoms of recurring thoughts about that same issue, and worried about it and feeling like it's just doom and gloom, panicky, anxiety, all of that different kind of stuff. So kind of share your story with what happened to your sons, because I know I would have been in a total PTSD place as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I know for me, because I only have two sons, and for them to both be incarcerated at the same time, there were times that I was just angry. There were times that I was suicidal, depressed. I was working, but I really wasn't functional. I remember one time the stress of it was just so overwhelming that I was walking out to the car and I literally lost my mind. And thank God, two of my co-workers, which they're like sisters, were out there, because I just started like talking out my head, and it was like, what is wrong with you? Because for that moment, I actually snapped because of that. And anytime I see anything that deal with the law, or something like that, it triggers something. If
Wow.
I see something, I don't really like to watch the news, because anytime my son is in a good place now, but anytime that I see what young men or any robberies or anything like that, my mind goes back to those instances of my sons. They could have been dead. What could have happened? And a lot of times you do shut down from the church, because it's not that the church is not good. You, at that moment, you don't want to hear what God is doing. Well, no, they in prison.
Oh, right.
So
Right.
you don't want to
Right.
hear, you don't, and then you sometimes find yourself faulting yourself, and that can lead you into depression. Whereas some days I went in the house on a Friday from work, and believe it or not, did not come out of the house, and a couple of times stayed in my pajamas.
Jesus.
You don't hear what I'm saying. And on that Sunday, because I had something to do, that made me put the face on and get up and go to church, and
Become
but
functional for that minute, for that
just for that
minute,
moment.
yeah.
But there was some time, for days, my husband, he was like, what is wrong with you? That I didn't want to go nowhere, I didn't want to do nothing. I just basically, I wanted to stay in the bed, and to the sometime not even eating. So it's a hard place to be. But I didn't get therapy, like that, but I recommend it. If you can get the right counseling or help that you need, I recommend it. Thank God that I bounced back, but it was not easy. But I had somebody that I could talk to, you know.
And
So,
I
yeah.
think it's so, just a lot of what you were saying, we just have to, even though we're not licensed, I'm not a licensed clinical person, but the compassion in me to know, to see signs and symptoms, even with my husband, so he really does have PTSD. It's from the military, but the weird thing is that he was able to function and work, 16 years, but there's triggers, there's
Of
things
course.
that
Yeah.
happen that,
Yeah.
like you said, you can be doing fine and then something happened and it sends you back.
Yeah.
So when he got laid off in 2016, that was his trigger. So it's just been kind of a hard journey of going through, because and it's weird because the trigger may not necessarily be the same as what happened to you, but it's something that sets you off into that place of back in trauma, like depression and hopelessness and all of those things. So it's just different things that can trigger you to go back. So, just as family members, it's just so important to know each other, right? And like you said, your husband would ask you questions. We may not be able to do anything to fix it, but you're still there to be a support, to love, to encourage, and try to really watch and help that person. It's just a very hard place to be. It really is.
Verna?
And honestly, there are a few clinicians that really focus on trauma. It's really hard to find someone that deals with trauma per se. Right now, there's a intervention. It's called EDMR, and basically it has something to do with eye movement, and you go to the sessions, and their focus is to try to desensitize that stress and that anxiety
Wow.
and the stuff that you
Wow.
experience. It's almost like reframing, recapturing that situation and changing what the outcome you experienced.
Wow.
It's sort of like a hypnosis almost.
Oh, wow.
So it's proven to be very effective.
Wow.
But to find somebody that does that, it's pretty hard.
Wow.
But that's right now, I think, probably the most effective treatment. And just as Lori said, people with post-traumatic stress disorder, they function well. It's just certain things that may trigger, maybe sounds, it may be smells, it may be the weather, it may be, an act, seeing somebody do something that was similar to something they experienced. So you don't necessarily just look at somebody and say, oh, they've got post-traumatic stress disorder. You generally, it is, for you to see it, you're going to have to probably be pretty close to that person and live with them and see their reaction to certain things. And so just in light of what she said, to be compassionate and to be patient, really, and to be a support is really a major factor in trying to help somebody overcome post-traumatic stress disorder.
Melissa, we talked yesterday. You've had a lot of trauma, and we just kind of talked a little bit of that through. And I didn't even know the other part. I knew about your brother, but I didn't know the specifics. So you want to kind of talk about that?
Yeah, I think my PTSD, I honestly got help, but it all started with my brother. He passed away actually September 11, 2016. It'll be 3 years. For me and my brother were very close. To this day, it's still hurtful. My brother passed away. Few months later, my daughter got diagnosed with a head tumor right after September 12th, like 4 months later, and I was not even recovering from one when
Right. You got hit
Faith-
again.
Yes, when Faith started. I think her first seizure was December 27. We were coming from Dallas. I didn't know what it was. I thought she was just throwing a tantrum. But we took her to the doctor. They're like, whatever you described looks like a seizure. I was like, no. And she's like, yes. So we took her into the neurologist, did testing on her, and it shows that she had a head tumor. And I was like, still grieving from my brother. And then just jumped into what Faith was going through. And sometimes I would just cry and say, why, why me, or question God, like, why did you take him? My thing for my brother is like, he left without saying goodbye. And I think for me, that is like, it's hurtful. I thank God I have the help now. I recently got help, and, I take it day by day, like I tell Lady Gail. And there's times where sometimes I'm driving and I gotta pull over and just cry out of nowhere. And I'm just like, so I'll call my doctor. You know what? Something's wrong. And she'll get me in and we'll start talking. But it's been hard. And I do have a husband, and he takes it very different than I do. He takes it very different than I do, because I'm over here crying for Faith, days at the hospital, weeks in and out. It was 2 years of in and out of the hospital with her. And I was like, you don't care. And he's like, I do, but what do you want me to do? So,
Very different.
yeah.
And Vernon, we see that, right? People handle stress differently.
Yeah, we all have different coping mechanisms,
Right.
and we can just see that between men and women.
Of course.
If a situation occurs, generally for a man, he can go and he'll start working. You know,
Right.
that's his way of coping. That I'm busy doing something. For us, we want to maybe lay in bed, cover up our head, cry. You know, you're gonna see it outwardly through our emotions, where he'll work to try to cope, and so we may see that as he doesn't care when he's
Right,
really
right.
trying to just take care of himself.
Cool. You're right.
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 You
right,
know,
right.
so um, definitely. And when we talk about post-traumatic, a lot of this, what for me, listening to
Melissa.
Melissa, you know, that sounds like grief. You know, and oftentimes we have, we even grieve differently.
Of
You
course.
know, some of us may be like in a day or two able to function, you know, and then some of us 10 years
Right.
from the death of that loved one still feel that pain just like it was that day.
Wow.
Right,
Yes.
right.
You know, so we all, we're geared up differently. That's just the bottom line. And so we just have to be able to be compassionate and say that's her way of grieving. And the biggest thing as a counselor, really, there's no, I mean, yes, we've been trained different things, but the bottom line is exposure and talking
Right.
and truth is really the way to healing. It's
Right.
just the bottom line. It with anything, when we talk about emotional issues, when we talk about sexual abuse, when we talk about rape, these are things that, you know, place trauma on people. And when we talk about these things openly, the more we talk about them, the more we do become desensitized to the effects of the trauma. When we study, we talk about children who have been sexually abused. The child that's going to fare better is the child that tells that I've been sexually abused, and the parent believes them, and they take action quickly.
Wow.
That's the child that's going to fare better. The one that's
Wow.
not going to do well is the one who's been told to shut up. We don't tell anybody about
Wow.
that. That did not happen. I don't want to hear that again. Those are the ones that grow up as women with
Right.
tremendous issues. So the bottom line is that the truth
Right.
sets us free.
That's
Wow.
right.
Come on.
It's just that simple. That the truth sets us free. When we're able to be vulnerable, we're able to say what we're feeling, what we're experiencing over and over and over again, however many times it takes. That's how we become healthy.
Yes.
That's right. And it's okay to say it over and over again, however many times. Because even like with losing my sister, I literally, out of like everyone in the family, I don't count the years. I just know she's gone. And I just still grieve over her being gone. But I don't count the years. I know the month that she passed. But if you ask me now, how many years has it been? I don't know. Because I still hear her voice. Like I still just have such a memory of her. I just choose not to say it's 3 years, 4 years, but whatever the number is, I just don't, that's not how my mind processes it. But I just came to realize that that's my way of grieving, and that's okay.
Of
Like,
course.
that's okay that I don't choose to count and to do all of that. But for someone who does choose to do that, it's okay. I just feel like, the more we talk about these things, the more it helps women and men, just to know that you are individual. You are very unique. So it's okay to be unique. It's okay to express yourself or not to express yourself. It's okay to heal your own way. But conversations and us having this conversation, someone hearing, that will help someone who's hearing us to know that I am different. It's okay that I'm dealing with this like nobody else in my family. That really is okay. That's okay.
You know, in my case, when my brother passed away, I remember it was a Sunday. I got a call, had just got off from work, and we would always call each other every day, morning and night, twice a day. And I remember that call, like the phone was ringing. I was like, I'll answer the phone when I finish cooking. For my surprise, I finished cooking and the phone rang again, and I was like, oh, he's probably drinking. So, no, for my surprise, it was a state trooper letting me know that my brother had a motorcycle accident and he was deceased, and I had to go and identify the body. So, that call for me is like still in my head. When all my sisters found out, we went to Dallas and we couldn't see the body till the next day. And I remember everything was so fast. Like I remember like that same day, and I didn't cry. And then I was like, why can I not cry? You know, everybody was crying, my siblings, my mom, all my cousins, but I couldn't cry. My brother passed away on Sunday. We finished funeral arrangements and everything in Waco by Friday. And I wanted to cry, but I couldn't cry. Once I got home, I just broke. Like, I couldn't anymore. And my husband's like, what do I do? It's like, and like I would just have his picture, and he's like, you're just hurting yourself. Just please stop. And my son was very attached to my brother. He was his godfather. And he was like, Mommy, please stop. You know, you're scaring us, he would tell me. So, you know, for me, like, I'll cry every now and then for him. And, you know, when I talk to people about my brother, especially like when I talk to my aunt, she's like, you do know your brother's not here, right? And I was like, yeah, but, you know, he's my brother. So I think for me,
They're like-
it's been very, very hard, like you say, Lori. I sometimes ask myself, like, you know, what could I have done different for him not to have that accident? So, and then right after what happened to my brother, having to through go everything Faith went through, and, you know, crying over it. So it was hard. Thank God she doesn't have the tumor, but she continues to have, well, she hasn't had a seizure for 4 months.
Go fake
you know,
it.
there's some stuff that left her, like seizures, anxiety. We're struggling with her anxiety. So, you know, we're here, continue to pray for her because she just started 6th grade. So I tell her, you know, your goal this year is to make friends and be there, you know, be involved. Don't isolate yourself because her herself has suffered. Because if I'm a grown up and I can't through this, I could just imagine my 11-year-old daughter going through it, feeling everything, and I can't take no pain away.
Verna, what is the difference? Can grief transition to PTSD, or PTSD surely has a part of that's called grief, right? Is it
Well,
combined together?
That's kind of hard to put in perspective, but you could have PTSD based on what, for instance, in this situation, if you feel like every time you get that phone call, they're about to call me and tell me somebody's
Dead.
dead, then that's PTSD.
Okay.
Okay. But then as far as grief, it could be symptomatic. It could be a symptom of PTSD. You
Gotcha.
know what I'm saying?
Right,
You
right,
got
right, right.
grief alone, but then
Right.
you could have post-traumatic stress disorder, and every time that phone rings, you go
Into
into
the state
grief.
of- right, right,
Then
right.
that's a symptom of post-traumatic stress. Does that did I
Gotcha.
put it-
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Dr. Yo? I don't know. I'm just looking at your face.
I'm just like,
Oh, my
you know,
God.
it's so much, and people don't understand the extent of what you go through, because even though it appeared that you're functioning normal, behind all that, you're really just existing.
Wow.
You know, and you just put on the face and you just function for a little while, and then you go back. And I know for me, anytime I would hear like see police cars,
That's PTSD.
you know, just different stuff, and my husband would be like, baby, what's wrong with you? And sometimes I could just be laying down and I could just see something, and I would tell him, you know, turn that off. I don't want to look at any cop shows or anything like that, because I would cry. Now I can handle it,
Right.
but going through that process, I didn't want to see anything. Even when I, because you know, my granddaughter went through abuse through CPS. This was my oldest son that was incarcerated. So all of these things were going on, health issues, all of this was going on. It's like one thing after another, and it's like you trying to function, but you're really not functioning, and it's really like you crying silently, but nobody really hears the cry because you're just smiling. And I was preaching the gospel and encouraging people, but they don't know that when I came from that and I got by myself, it was depressing,
Of course.
And at one point I didn't want to do any of it anymore because I'm asking God, how can I encourage somebody else? And I'm over here for 2 or 3 days, once I come out of trying to function in the real world, I don't want to function. I'm like a zombie. My husband's like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, you don't understand, but he kept saying, well, baby, it'll be okay. I know you love the boys and all of that. I said, but no, you don't understand. So I understand what she's saying because men deal with stuff differently. My husband, he just kept busy, like working and stuff like that. But for me, I'm pretty sure his life was miserable
Of
because
course.
he
'Cause
didn't
he had
know
the
which
boys
way,
to deal with and you.
Yeah,
And your,
yeah.
you know what I'm
And
saying?
my emotions,
Yes.
along with the boys.
Of course.
So you really have to have people in your life that don't get tired of you.
Oh, goodness. Come
And,
on here. That support
because where
system.
you can be transparent and say, okay, this is what I'm going through, but this is not who I am.
Come on.
But because of all the, and then sometimes you feel like, what's the use because nobody understands, so that make you kind of go into an isolated place. Even though I was functioning, there were times that I really isolated myself away from people.
Of course.
I just functioned when I had to go out there.
Right. So that's a part of it, right, Verna? To detach oneself?
Yes,
Yeah.
Again, that could be a symptom, a sign that you have PTSD, isolating. Something that she said that was paramount when she said you need to have people around you that don't get tired of you.
Come on.
And I think for us, since we're talking to the whole internet family,
Right.
to keep in mind that be long-suffering. To be that one that doesn't get tired of the story, that doesn't want to rush somebody through their grief or
That's
their
right.
traumatic experience. Try to be that one. I have a sister that lost her son. I think it's probably been like 2 years now. And so she constantly puts things on Facebook, pictures of her son and celebrating, just saying things about her son. And recently they had the trial of the young man that murdered him and all this stuff. Well, when you put things out there on Facebook, you get people, some people are compassionate and others are like,
That's true.
you stuck, you need to do. But the truth of the matter is, who determines,
How long you
Come
can
on,
grieve?
yeah.
how long
yeah.
it's going to take me to
Yeah.
deal with my
Hello,
situation.
That's
somebody.
right.
You
That's
understand? And so for us, all of us, we when we have a problem, we want to talk it out and we want people to be long suffering with us and
Yeah.
listen to my story. Just hear me out. I say it all the time. Just hear me out. You don't have to fix it. All you got to do is
just
listen.
listen.
Just listen. Just hear me out. And so, but when we have an issue, we want people to hear us out, the same story over and
Exactly.
over.
That's
but then
right.
when it's the
Other way
where
around,
our
yeah.
time to reciprocate,
Yeah.
we start to get frustrated because their issues we can't understand it. It's not like ours. All you need to do is do this, and people don't get it. When you tell them, well, all you need to do is just move on, let go.
Please.
All you need to do is get up and get busy about this,
Oh, my
about your
God.
father's business.
Come
Go
on
on.
here, that's the
You
main
better
thing.
stop.
And people don't get that.
Don't hit him in the head.
You
Let 'em
you
make
can
it.
say it all you want to, and then you get frustrated because you've been saying the same thing over and over, and they don't listen. Well, that's where real counseling techniques
Come on
come in,
here.
because it's not for you to tell them what to do. It's for you to help them to think
Process
differently.
it.
Yes.
Help
Yeah.
them to
Yeah.
Yes.
Process through.
weigh what you're saying, and is this the best option?
Yes.
And so it does take some skills for that, but it doesn't take skill to be compassionate. It really doesn't. If you think about your own situation and how much you want somebody to have mercy on you when you do
Yes.
something,
When you're cuckoo.
if you do that,
Oh my God.
consider
Oh my God.
yourself, and if
Consider
it were
yourself.
you, I mean, it just seems like your compassion should kick in.
Right, right. And we all have those times where we are fragmented in mind. I call it just the cuckoo bug. And you want someone to really be patient with you. I know I've been there with the cuckoo bug and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know what? I'm not feeling myself. I'm off task. I'm fragmented in my mind. I'm grieving. Something is going on.
Yeah.
And so, I really laugh at it, but it's really not. It's not, I'm not laughing at it when I'm in it, and I wouldn't dare laugh at someone else that is in it, because it's just a horrible place to be in. I was talking to someone yesterday, matter of fact, it was Pastor, and I heard someone, and I heard in her voice that breaking. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I stopped to listen to that breaking. I'm like, okay, what can I do to make this better? What can I do to help? Where men do deal with things differently. His thing was, you need to create an environment of worship for her, an environment, and pray for her, and, pray. And I'm looking like him like, man, that's the way he deals with stuff, but I'm being a realist. I can do all of that, but it all depends on where that person is. That person may not be there. So then you go to the next level of help and compassion to help someone. So I cannot force you to process through the way I do. You see what I'm saying? And we have to be very careful about that, because people are at different levels. They are in different places. Everybody is not spiritual. Everybody don't even know about being spiritual. So you got to help them process where they are and process through from where they are. That's Dr. Dell, what?
But even I was spiritual.
Yeah.
And that,
True,
at
come
that
on.
moment,
That's right.
people don't understand
Come
that
on.
there's a human side and
That's
there's a
right.
spiritual side.
That's right.
And so, yes, we are spiritual and all of that. I believe that because I was too. But the fact of the matter, on the human side, both of my children were locked up.
Come on.
So I'm a mother.
That's right.
So,
It is what it is.
You just have to be real about things.
And people they use the Bible, and since we're talking across the board today, I was even thinking about Mary. That was some person. She was all getting it on, sitting at Jesus' feet and all of that, but couldn't even get up when he came because she was in such a bad place.
Yeah.
So it is a human side to all. The highest of spiritual people have that human side. Even Jesus, in his human form.
Yes.
He was in the garden, and his thing was, if it's any way, this cup can pass from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thine will be done. Those are, to me, places of such deep grief or PTSD, whatever you want to call it, that it's real. And we have to treat it as if it's real and not just pray over it or whatever. Let's deal with what's at hand, and then we're going to pray through it. We're going to continue to pray, but we have to deal with those places because people need help. They need help.
Yeah.
It's like a physical wound, but you can't see it, right?
Come on.
Physically. So especially grief.
Oh my goodness.
If we all got our hand cut off, we would all be in here like dying, screaming, crying because your hand just got cut off. But that's a natural thing. But grief, that's like someone that you love being cut away from you. So it is a feeling that you feel naturally. You just can't see it. You can't see that wound, but it's there. And everybody's wound heals differently. And you said about compassion, I'm just like, it's so true. everybody is just so different, and you just have to let them go through their process and
Yeah.
be there for each other. If we had glasses and we could look at everybody, everybody is jacked up.
Come
Nobody has
on.
had a perfect life.
Tell the
Nobody has
truth.
had a life that they haven't gone through something that was devastating or traumatizing
Yes.
to them. There's not one human that has gone through that has not had one traumatizing thing happen to them, even the Lord. So there's things that are going on in us, and we all process it. And you said earlier, just putting on that mask or just getting through. Like, to me, it's like it's not a mask; it's just living. Like, this is just me living. I'm just trying to live today. Tomorrow, I may live a little bit different, but it's just a different day. Not that I'm hiding it. I'm just trying to live. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to get through the day without breaking down myself, right?
Yeah.
So again, compassion is the key word tonight.
Yes,
Yeah.
In
yes.
any situation.
And I wanted to say something.
Go ahead.
Like she said, Lori and
Dr. Yo.
Dr. Yo and her, like it was a struggle when my brother passed away and when Faith was going through her stuff, dealing with both things at the time. I was working at campaign in Pasadena. The candidate that was running, he was like, take all the time you need. My workers that at the time were working for me were like, is there anything we could do for you? And for
Yeah.
me was like, I don't want to be home. I want to get out
Yeah.
because my face was like swollen, eyes were swollen, and when I got back to the office, it's like, what happened? So I'm there like crying and bad shape, and they're like, it's okay, you're strong. But like she said, you put a face on. Like
course.
it's funny because at the school they're like, wow, your life is so perfect. You have a husband that loves you, that gives you everything. You have 4 kids. You've been married for 21 years. But like I say, sit in my shoes
Oh,
for
yeah.
an hour and you will see
Yeah.
that it's not easy.
That's right.
That it's not easy from when I first decided to have my first child to when I decided to have my 4th child. It hasn't been easy because everybody struggles, and
That's
I think
right.
my
Yes.
struggle has been hard. And sometimes I do question God, like, why? And then I stay away from the Lord, and then I come back. Ever since I met Lady Gail, Faith, I live an hour away from LaPorte. So she's like, I want to go with Lady Gail. And
That's
they
right,
tried
Faith.
taking her to the other church where my husband goes, and she's like, no, I want to go to Lady Gail. So it's been
My baby.
it's been a struggle, a everyday challenge for me. And I'm pretty sure for my kids to see me go through what I've gone. Like like yesterday, I was literally telling Lady Gail that I was feeling so unappreciated. Like I was like, I have 4 kids, I have a husband, and I do all of this, and I was like I was feeling so depressed, so unappreciated. And then Lady Gail calls me, and then she just starts praying. And I was like, oh my God, I'm nagging about all of this, and I'm a mom. I told Lady Gail, I was like, my husband is like, it's okay, you don't have to do nothing. So I go in the room all mad, and then he tells the kids, y'all need to start doing your stuff on yourself. Mom is not gonna be doing it. So I complain to him, and he takes it like very different. Like,
Very
okay,
different.
but then he turns around and tells the kids. So,
But Melissa, you had a son that was ill as well, right,
Yes.
years ago?
yes, my 17-year-old son got diagnosed with leukemia when he was 3 years old.
See?
My grieving at that time, I was, I could say, I used to go to Catholic church. We were present at all time, and at that time, they would question me, why is Junior in and out of the hospital? I didn't tell anybody because I would feel like I don't want them to feel sorry for my son. I don't want them to now come and, oh, what can I help you when you have never been there for? But I learned that I couldn't handle everything on my own.
Come on.
I
Come
learned
on.
to open up.
Yeah.
Because I used to live in Clear Lake at the times, and my siblings would all be in Katy or in Houston, and they would question me. So why is he in the hospital a lot? Until one day I just broke down to my sister, one of my sisters that was really close, and my brother, and they're like, why didn't you tell us earlier? Why didn't you open up? You know, we're not here to judge you. And thank God my son is 17 years old already, and he's a very healthy kid. And, you know, he goes to his yearly checkups, but he's there. And, you know, it's for me, I see it as it's a test, an everyday test that I go through. And sometimes, like she says, I don't want to get up from bed. Sometimes, especially when I was going through everything that Faith was going through and dealing with my brother's death, it was just, I didn't want to get up. I wanted to stay home and cry. And, or if I wanted to go to work just to not be at the house, I just wanted to cry at work, send the people to work and be at the office and cry. But I learned that if you open up, like you say,
Yes.
I do have some wonderful friends that, you know, like you say, they don't get tired of hearing me,
Yes.
Oh, God.
you know, questioning like, what could I've done better for my brother to be here? So, yeah, that's for me that.
Opening up is very, I'm just going to say this one thing, and
Go ahead.
she can take it. What helped me therapeutically, the Lord reminded me a couple of years before I even started Fit for the Kingdom, I used to walk and I would wind up ministering and telling my testimony to others, and it would be other people that their children were incarcerated. And this was before I named it Fit for the Kingdom. And my other page, remember I told you I
Yes.
shut down,
Yeah.
and God took me back, and I found some of those videos, but it was on my ministry page that didn't get shut down, and it turned out to be Fit for the Kingdom, which was now, but I started walking, sharing all the things that I was going through, and that was opening up to Facebook, but it was therapeutic.
Come
and I'm
on.
still doing that
Come
now,
on.
and that was a part of my healing process.
Wow.
So,
You know, I relate to you because, like, I work with I work in political campaigns, and I work in a school where I talk to parents and I talk to seniors. My thing is mostly seniors when it works to political campaign, and they talk to me about their stuff, and somehow I always end up talking about my brother and what Faith is going through, and we both sit there hours talking with about one another, and it has helped me a lot. I think I've already got the help I needed. I do go to a therapist, and at the beginning I was taking medication. Now I don't, because I was like, I don't want to be numb. I want to go through this and, you know, feel it and know, you know, God, this is what He has for me and my family.
Verna?
Yeah, I wanted to share that once we start opening up and telling about our situations and our secret thoughts and all this kind of stuff, we really find out that somebody else is experiencing the same thing that we're experiencing. They got the same fears, they have the same situation
Come on here.
or similar, and we can draw from that person. You know, and so it's so important. Like she said, I walked and I shared my testimony, and then I found somebody else that had something similar.
Come
You see
on.
what I'm saying? Or I shared this, and I found out that, you know, someone else has gone through struggles. Or even when she was talking about her husband getting on the kids saying that you need to start doing this and this, that sounds just like something that happened in my house. You know, so when we start to share, we find out that it's not just you alone. You feel like it's just you alone. And then I think I said this the last time, I probably say it every time, the healthy person is a person that has the most support systems.
Yes.
That's
Always
what
she says
one,
that.
one of the things that I do love about Pleasant Hill is once you step in the door, you become family.
Yep.
And so if you can't pay your light bill, this lady will start telling everybody to cash out $3. Okay, but the bottom line is, it creates an environment for a healthier support system.
Come on
You
now.
cannot stay if you go missing or you got some kind of issue, and we know about it. Somebody's gonna start saying, "Where's blah blah? Let's go check her, baby. You know you need." And so
That's
it
so true.
creates a healthier support system. No man is an island. The more support systems you have, the healthier you'll be.
yes.
That's good.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
that is
So we gonna
good.
round it up. So I want to kind of finish off with Verna telling the audience where they can go to get help if they feel like they are suffering with PTSD or major grief or just grief. How do they go about getting help? Because some people won't get help because they don't know how to go about getting help.
Every county has a local mental health authority. I didn't bring any phone numbers or anything, but we're in Harris County, so guess what? You got all kind of services in Harris County. Um, the local mental health authority is actually free. It's basically geared for people who have no insurance or who have Medicaid. So, and then also here in Harris County, there's Herman Memorial Crisis Clinics. They're located in different areas of the county, and you can walk into Herman Memorial Crisis
Wow.
Clinic all hours of the night up until like 9 o'clock and ask to see a doctor, and they do assessments, and they'll link you with counselors and
Wow.
all this stuff, and sometimes that's even free too. So there are a lot of
Wow.
services out there. We kind of have to, dig into find them. But there are things out there. Then, of course, if you have insurance, you can call your health plan and say, look, I need to talk to a therapist. And they'll give you a list of 25 names, and you can just call and get you an appointment with somebody that's, available for your schedule or whatever. And so I guess that's.
So Verna, do you have a private?
I do.
Uh,
I do private
private
practice.
practice
I do
as well?
private practice. I'm in LaPorte. And I guess I'll post it on the page,
yeah.
my number and everything, if you'd like to schedule something. I also am about to create an endeavor with Deblin. That's another place that's pretty prevalent in the Houston area. Deblin, they do a lot of counseling and services.
Can you spell that,
in home.
Verna?
Deblin. And they probably gonna say, now why did you do that? Deblin Concepts. Give them some free publication. So there are a lot of things available in Harris County, and we'll try to post some of them on the webpage.
Wow. Anything else, you guys, before we close it out? Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Verna. Thank you, Dr. Yo. Thank you, Melissa. This is awesome. I knew you guys would rock it. And it has to be someone that has really walked in those areas to, make an impact on those who are in those areas. So I am just so grateful that you guys came on. And every time, Verna, you come on, you are always a blessing. We've done mental health issues, depression, major depression, suicide, and I usually call Verna or Dr. Lynn Buford. So those are the people I recommend. Verna Humphrey, Verna. Humprey. She probably gonna get mad. Why did you do that? And Dr. Lynn, Lynn, or Rhonda Lynn Buford, Buford. If you're having any issues, any problems, I guarantee you, they will get you in a better place. So be blessed. I'm gonna let Dr. Yo, you pray us out.
Oh, amen. Father, we just thank you for tonight, God. We thank you for the people that were blessed and their lives were touched. We just thank you, oh God, that the awareness that was gone out to the people, that they know that they can acquire help. Most of all, they can get help from you, God, but there are other resources that are out here that they can get help for. And we thank you, God. Continue to bless New Wine Talk Show and the things that they are bringing forth to bring awareness to your people. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right, now give it up.